And how can everybody hear me? Is my mic good? How's everybody doing on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube? Ask questions. We just got off of a Latinos in Clinical Research with sponsored by Greenfire Zoom call. How's the audio sounding? And it was actually really good. We had like 90 people on, and we all, myself, Monica, Judy, Chris, Ashley, got to talk about why we created Latinos in Clinical Research, and then answered a bunch of questions from people. So I wanted to do a live stream. Sound is good. Thank you, doctor. I wanted to do a live stream to answer any more questions, and talk about practical aspects of clinical research, because I think that was the themes in the Latinos in Clinical Research Zoom meeting today. Again, sponsored by Greenfire, not an official Latinos in Clinical Research Zoom meeting, but one that was sponsored by Greenfire. And, I guess the disconnect between the industry and reality is it has to work at the site level. And why is this important? This is important for a number of reasons. Obviously, if you're a site owner, this is going to be interesting to you. But if you are also somebody seeking to either land a career in research, and make sure we keep the hearts going, the likes going. Hi Abish, how's it going? Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, share, put hearts. Uh, things for there to be progress in research, we can just boil it down to sites need to be successful. We need to do a better job at sites running studies more profitably, more efficiently, and also more sites, because even the most established sites out there, they run out of patients. Like, there's just a limit to how much they can grow. I know theoretically there's no limit, but again, practically speaking, there's a limit. And otherwise, we would have already had a site network that's like publicly traded, and we don't see that, right? We see sites getting big, getting bought out by CROs, getting bought out by bigger vendors, VC firms, and then the growth kind of stops, right? So for the industry to push the industry forward, we need more sites. If we want more minorities in research studies, we need more sites in those communities. Go figure where minorities live. And we're not seeing a lot of research sites in those areas. And so one of the missions that my company is focusing on, one of the many, and Latinos in Clinical Research playing a role in this, is, especially in Latin America, but just here in the US, the opportunities are here as well. It's to create the infrastructure in those communities for research, for successful research practice. So guys, make sure, hello on Instagram, put your questions. I'm definitely not ignoring Instagram. Instagram's the first to go live, the last to end. So we got a question from LinkedIn. Andre, I heard about central monitoring. Is that something that have future in CRO? What do you think about that? Yeah, I mean, centralized monitoring is monitoring. This really stems from the risk-based monitoring approach, which I guess a lot of studies are still implementing RBM, risk-based monitoring, but you're basically reducing the number of monitoring visits physically to the site, so you're doing it all from like a centralized location. Uh, with the pandemic, this became important because out of necessity, but now that travel is back, I know many CRAs, I talk to many CRAs, and the travel's back. Like, we're back to traditional monitoring as usual. There's elements of central, there's like PPD has the remote site monitors, which help the CRAs. The CRO I contract with, they have an in-house CRA that lets me, the contract CRA, know what to collect or what to look for, what to emphasize at my next visit. So That's more of a like a central monitoring. It's happening at the either at the CRO level or at the sponsor level, and not at the individual CRA level. So that's what that means. There is a future because it's the present. It's the present and the future. So hello, Dr. Dombre. How's it going? Joyati Rawat, how's it going? Kimberly Murphy Kanan, nice to talk. Nice to see you again. It was nice talking to you the other day. Practical talk takes away thoughts of doing more with a degree. Yes, practical talk. Less focus on degree. Look, degrees are important if you want to grow your career. Obviously, having a master's is going to be helpful. Having a PhD is going to be helpful, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary to come in this industry, be indispensable, name your price, and be busy. Be busier than anyone else with 10 PhDs can be. It's there comes a point where it's less about degrees and more about how hard you're willing to work and what problems is your hard work solving. Because you could be working hard and have nothing to show for it. That means you're focused on the wrong activities, you're focused on the wrong problems, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with experimenting, um, but you have to recognize when it's not working and when it is, and that you only get that through doing. You don't get that through reading a book. As much as I recommend reading my book, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research, you don't get that through that. You get that through doing. Through you don't get that from conferences either. Like, I don't know, these big conferences where people from think tanks talk about policy. I mean, that stuff's important at a macro level, but it has zero impact on making yourself indispensable. At a certain point, you want to be on those stage being the speaker or networking with the people who are speaking, knowing how to talk the language, but you have to know what the practical aspects of being in clinical research mean. RX Dunk, how's it going? Uh, I gotta make sure I follow you to see if you're dunking on your profile. Angelique, how's it going? Katas, Fabiani, put your questions on the Instagram, put your questions on the LinkedIn, put your questions on YouTube, on Facebook. Watching you from my desk at Ascada. Shout out to you guys. Follow GCP, of course. That's the main umbrella is GCP. Hi Dan, what are your thoughts about Python language? Will it be more in demand in the future instead of SAS? I know nothing about this, Sahil. I know nothing about coding. I think tech is going to be, and here's a bish, this is where we have the community help. Python is in high demand. I think tech is obviously gonna transform and disrupt our industry. And you gotta, if you're in this industry, you gotta figure out how to play with it, right? So you have to get familiar with the technologies. But I know nothing about coding, but apparently people do, like a bish. What are different ways a CRO can speed study startup time? It really boils down to influence over the sites. How much influence does the CRO have over the sites? That's number one. Number two is supply and demand. How many studies is that site doing? This is why I really think we need more research naive sites participating in research, because what they lack in experience, they make up for in willingness to get started. So you'll have like these big sites or these established sites, they take their time with study startup because they know there's no real incentive for them to get started quickly if the study is not started yet, right? Now, if you're an add-on site and it's competitive enrollment, the incentive for you as a site to get your study startup regulatory documents up, your contract negotiated, everything finalized, because the clock is already ticking. The study's going on. Whether you are allowed to start screening or not doesn't stop other sites from doing it. But in a traditional study where everyone starts at the same time, yes, you as a site, you can get your regulatory and everything in order. And there's a certain point where the metrics are being tracked, but you need to have some incentive. And so you need to have influence or incentive. And I really think this is where site networks like mine, DSCS Site Network, play a large role. We've been getting approached by a lot of pharmaceutical companies wanting to tap into us, into our site network, because they know we have influence over these sites. It's a big difference between me calling one of the sites in our site network and saying, hey, can you please get the startup regulatory documents on time? Like, can you please work on it now? Can you please prioritize it now? As opposed to someone from the CRO doing that, because they have no relationship with this person from the CRO. But they have a relationship with me because we're cultivating these sites sometimes from the ground up. AI is the future of literally everything. Yep. Coding and programming adds to your skills. However, if you're an entrepreneur and have those leadership and business running caliber, you don't need to worry. Yeah. And know your strengths. Like, you can always partner with people who do have that experience. Hand-on experience with clinical trial guru. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Python is in high demand. Maury, hi Dan. Are there some of the self RBQM tools to support practical risk identification assessments? Risk-based quality management, is that what that stands for? I'm just taking a guess. Let me know if that's what that stands for. Risk-based quality management. It's all about metrics. It's all about metrics. A lot of the e-source vendors and the CTMS vendors at the site level, they track these things. They track how many days until your next patient got, I mean, from very simple things to how many patients are in the study, how much is owed to the site, what's outstanding as far as the assessments are concerned, but then also like where you are as far as the and Mari's saying yes, risk-based quality management tools. So from the site level, the tools, the data is different. Obviously, sites don't care about risk-based monitoring. From the CRO and sponsor side, they have way more things to track. They're starting to use things like AI. The CTMS tracks a lot of this stuff. I don't work for a big CRO. I work for a very small CRO, and we track everything on Excel sheets. Honestly, Excel, and we communicate with the sites and with the sponsors through Slack and through our monitors, our intern monitors who monitor the studies through Slack. So obviously, the bigger the organization, the less off-the-shelf tools you're gonna be able to use, and so you're gonna need to start paying for some of these. Like Viva, for example, sells a lot of these things to sponsors and CROs, and there's other companies too. What is the best GCP link? I don't even know the name of it. Just Google GCP training. I think it's City. I can't remember which one we use in our CRA Academy. There's two links that are free, and there is no best. The best is free. There is no best. GCP is GCP. You're gonna learn more by doing, not from a module. Although if you have no exposure to research, it's very good. But I also suggest my 5-hour video. What are your views about clinical data management, Dan? I think clinical data management is going to be, it's obviously always been important. It's going to be increasingly more important. What I really like about clinical data management is the fact that people with data management backgrounds from other industries can easily jump in to a clinical data management role. And then once you're there, just like Greg Johnson, who we interviewed from Kintara Therapeutics on my other YouTube channel, the Clinical Research Circle, he started in data management. Now he's a consultant, a generalist consultant, advises biotechs on a wide variety of topics. And so he started as data management. So, he was able to bypass coordinating, although I still think there's a lot of value in being a coordinator, but he came in from a different angle and still became a generalist. Whereas coordinators can do the same thing. You're going to be a generalist, but your background as a coordinator, obviously patients, hands-on experience, there's no substitute for having that experience at the site level. But data management's big, and if you can get in the industry that way, that's the way to do it too. What would you recommend breaking into pharma from decentralized trials? Breaking into pharma from decentralized trials? So I'm assuming you haven't worked at a site yet. I would say work at a site first. Um, Decentralized trials, what does that actually mean? Because does it mean virtual trials? Uh, it could mean virtual trials. It could mean different things to different sponsors, where the patients have an option to come to the office, to the site, or do the visit from home. So you can get in as a vendor, maybe mobile health, mobile phlebotomist, mobile nurse, that goes to patient homes, recruiter. From a site perspective, sites don't care about these kind of things. They just want their studies, they have their patients, and they want to work on those studies. And if they're decentralizing, you give the patient the option to work from home or not go to the site, but do the study from home. They can do that too. But as far as sites are concerned, decentralized trial, it's not practical. We're talking about practical on this. That's not practical. But it's an important component of clinical research. SMO will always help to shorten the study startup time. Site management organization, not necessarily. Sometimes SMOs get in the way. Sometimes SMOs are too big for their own good, and they could hold it up on the budget negotiation, or they can mismanage. This is what happened in the late 90s, early 2000s with the SMOs, where they didn't focus on quality. They just wanted a bunch of sites, a bunch of doctors in different parts of the country to do studies, and they just kind of threw studies at them and left them on their own. There's no nurturing the sites. There's no training the sites. And really, as a site network, one of our roles is to do those things. If you're a site and you've never done a study startup regulatory packet, we help you. We walk you through it on Zoom, on the phone. This is one of the benefits of being in our site network. And so SMOs don't do that. SMOs just want the sites to get up and running. In the past, they didn't even care about quality. They're starting to change now. Hey, Naomi, how's it going? Nice to see you. Which companies can we reach out to outsource work to India related to SAS programming, medical writing, clinical trials? Any thoughts? Clinicaltrials.gov and LinkedIn. You're on the right platform, LinkedIn. And I would suggest definitely get on Clubhouse. I don't use Clubhouse nearly as much as I should because I have a lot of other things I'm doing right now. So I don't necessarily, I am missing out on opportunities, but I have opportunity cost of not doing other things by being on Clubhouse too. This is why I've been a little sporadic with my Clubhouse participation. But if you're in the need for biz dev, like immediate biz dev, you need to be on Clubhouse, networking with people, having conversations just like they're talking about now, and make it practical for them. We hired Dan. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Yes, we're looking forward to helping you guys get up and running and get super successful as a site. Thank you, Maury. I appreciate it. And thank you for joining, Maury, our Latinos in Clinical Research Zoom last month. And we got another one coming out next month. Go to the latinosinclinicalresearch.com. Sign up for our email list. It is free. So you get notified of the next Zoom call, which is actually going to be next week, I think. LinkedIn user says, thank you. Chris is calling me. I can't talk right now. Yes, that was a great interview. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, so you know what? That's like, let's just keep in mind to be practical and recruitment, patient recruitment, like at the site level. That's the lowest hanging fruit and the biggest need there is for clinical research, period. All these tech solutions, decentralized trial, all this stuff people like to talk about, it really means nothing if we don't have patients joining studies. And we need to change the perception of clinical research to the community, especially diverse African Americans, Hispanics, Asian Americans. We need more minorities participating in research. We need more clinicians in these communities participating in research. And That's basically the practical aspects of clinical research that we like to focus on. And there are people focusing on the more macro level ideas, but at the end of the day, they're just ideas because without the sites, the sites have to implement these things, right? We can't do studies without sites right now. The industry's been trying. They can do it maybe for certain studies, but it's like 1% of studies, maybe even less. How to ensure successful SIV? Are you documenting site staff understanding of protocol on an individual level? Yeah, successful SIV as a CRA really is about making sure that you're leaving and the site understands the protocol and that you've documented the training and also that the site is ready to screen. So, do they have IRB approval? Do they have their investigator site file in order? All the essential documents in order? IRB approval, super important. Do they have the latest informed consent version? Are they trained on the latest version of the protocol? Do they have EDC access? Do they have IWRS access? Do they have lab kits? Do they have any other study supplies they need? That's what makes a successful SIV. Basically, in short, here's what makes a successful SIV from a sponsor and a CRA perspective. Can the site start screening immediately after this SIV? If the answer is yes, you've done a great job, and also luck is probably on your side. If the answer is no, that's the most common scenario. And then the answer becomes, or the solution becomes, how do we make this become yes quickly? And it usually involves action items and different things that I mentioned. So I apparently have another phone call I got to get on. So I got to get off this live stream. Recruitment and retention. Thank you for mentioning retention because that's probably more important than recruitment, or at least equally important. So I got to get on this phone call, but thank you guys, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.